Daryl Brooks cried in court as he faced charges that would send him to prison for the rest of his life. But the criminal complaint paints a picture of a man who acted deliberately and without emotion as he plowed down his victims, including children and the elderly. Then the largest group, 8 products, had less than 25% of the CBD the label said, and 4 of them didn't have any at all. And while the results shocked us, experts say it's pretty typical. To give you a sense of how strong the storms were that came through here, take a look at this tree. It was uprooted and came crashing down through this fence. You can see the aftermath of these break-ins all up and down Vine Street. We have tons of piles of glass just like this one. It was an absolutely explosive day in the courtroom. The defense shocking everyone, including the prosecutor, by calling Kyle Rittenhouse to the stand in the middle of their case. This area of the park is marked with signs like the one behind me warning people not to swim because of the strong current which is created over here where the Pike River meets Lake Michigan. Still, we've seen people here swimming all day long. The most shocking part of this whole hearing actually came at the end after the mics had been cut and people were starting to file out. Jake Patterson turned to all of us in the gallery as he was being let out and he said, "Bye, Jamie." This was probably the most important testimony of the trial so far. Gage Grosskreutz was shot in the arm. The jury actually saw very graphic video. His right bicep was essentially blown off. I'm basically monitoring this score by how loud it is behind me because these guys, there you go, there you have it right now. Good stuff is happening. David Ward got out of jail earlier this year after serving time for theft by contractor, but it doesn't seem like he learned his lesson. We found he's moved to a new city and maybe up to his old tricks. CBS 58 Investigates confronted David Ward again. Hey, Mr. Ward, Kristen Barbaresi with CBS 58. We heard you're working as a contractor again? Ward has multiple convictions for theft by contractor across Wisconsin and Illinois, dating back more than 20 years. It's a criminal past CBS 58 Investigates uncovered, leading to Ward's year-long jail sentence in Waukesha County in 2018.
Just lie after lie.
Now, Ward is out of jail and moved to Madison, advertising his contracting and roofing services to neighbors on Nextdoor.
I just was like, oh my gosh, unbelievable.
James Schwartz saw Ward's posts on the neighborhood social networking site and recognized him immediately. Schwartz worked with Ward in Fond du Lac before Ward went to jail.
I'm thinking somebody's got to say or blow the whistle on this. He's just in an area where nobody knows him, so he's getting away with it.
So far, no one is saying they've been ripped off, but Ward is still on probation, and one of the conditions of that probation, no employment as a contractor or subcontractor. But on Nextdoor, Ward calls himself a contractor and is offering to do garage additions, roof repairs, and windows, saying his labor is, quote, obviously less than you will pay for a big-name contractor. CBS 58 Investigates has asked Ward for comment multiple times throughout the last several years, and we asked him about the latest allegations. We heard you're working as a contractor again. Doesn't that violate your probation, sir? Ward took off the wrong way down a one-way street. We reached out to the Department of Corrections, which oversees people on probation, and asked if Ward is in violation. They got back to us late Friday afternoon and said they conducted an extensive investigation and found Ward is not in violation because he's posting on Nextdoor on behalf of his employer and that all monies and contracts were handled through Mr. Ward's employer, not Mr. Ward himself. The DOC adds Mr. Ward has been directed not to post services for his employer on the app in the future. 58 Investigates spoke to one woman who got an estimate for an addition from Ward. She says he did give her a business card with the company Committed Contracting. The name on the card was Lee Cowboy Ward. She says he told her the addition would cost $42,000 and she had to pay him in cash. She says that was a red flag and didn't hire him. She also tells 58 Investigates Ward spoke with a heavy Southern accent, something we've never heard in court.
Circumstances why we are here today are many, but it doesn't change the fact that I let you down.
Things went wrong. I tried to correct them.
I did speak with the owner of Committed Contracting before the DOC investigation. He told me Ward does work for him, but he doesn't track every job Ward does and didn't know if Ward was doing jobs independently. Jessup, this is one of the homes that was right in the path of that tornado. You can see the damage, obviously. The front door ripped off, gutters missing, shingles ripped off. This tree actually landed inside this gentleman's home. From above, it's devastation. Homes and barns destroyed, debris everywhere. But on the ground, the picture is much more hopeful.
I feel pretty good.
Because instead of focusing on what's gone,
All this can be replaced.
people say it's about what's still here.
I'm disabled, so I wasn't able to go down the basement, so I just sat in my recliner and I said my prayers, and the next thing I knew, the storm was through and I had a tree through my sunroom. The good Lord has blessed me.
Just down the road, a similar attitude from Tim Brack.
Alarms came on, we went downstairs, boom.
Brack and his 3 kids moved into this house in April.
Hot tub used to be there, it's over in the field over there.
The attached garage was ripped from the house, the mudroom too. Still, Brack says when he cried last night, it was tears of gratitude because looking around, he has no idea why most of his house is still standing.
We all see this as, especially me, as God spared us. He has us here for a reason still.
Cleanup and repairs will take some time, but no one will be doing it alone.
I feel bad for him, so I'm like, hey, he's got all this destruction. Let's help a guy out.
They're all a bunch of great people who will come together and get this place cleaned up, and you'll never know there's a tornado that came through here.
Here's another look at some of the damage at Paul's house, who you heard from in that story. Now, he actually sells sweet corn from his property. His stand is mostly intact, but all of the corn was destroyed except for 3 ears, and I actually saw him offer those 3 ears to a neighbor that came by and offered to help clean up. Earlier this week, the Milwaukee County District Attorney said in a statement that $1,000 cash bail was far too low, and they're looking into how that happened. But a closer look at this case shows Darrell Brooks skated the justice system on technicalities and oversights multiple times over the last several years. Darrell Brooks has more than a dozen convictions across 3 states in the last 2 decades.
There's a long history of flight, obstructing, bail jumping type behavior, Your Honor.
At the time of Sunday's attack, Brooks was out on bail in 2 Milwaukee County cases. The first from 2020. Brooks allegedly got in a fight with his nephew and shot at 2 people. He was in jail on a $7,500 cash bail and requested a speedy trial, meaning the case had to be heard within 90 days. But that didn't happen because the justice system is backed up, in part because of court closures coupled with a spike in crime during the pandemic.
So now we have this bottleneck situation where all these cases, these new cases, these older cases are trying to work its way through the system, and the judges and the prosecutors and law enforcement is doing their best to try and keep up with the volume.
To comply with the statute, bail was reduced to $500 and Brooks got out in February. On November 2nd, he allegedly tried to run the mother of his child over with a car. He then posted a $1,000 cash bail. Milwaukee County District Attorney John Chisholm says that bail was inappropriately low and an internal review is underway.
I don't think that this case, and while it appears like that at first blush, isn't a sign of the complete breakdown in the criminal justice system. I think this was an isolated incident that really happened as a culmination of a lot of different pressures on the criminal justice system right now, primarily because of COVID.
There is an active warrant for Brooks' arrest in Nevada after he failed to comply with sex offender registry requirements. Since that warrant was issued, Brooks has been arrested multiple times here in Wisconsin and in Georgia, but it's unclear if officials in either state had any idea he was wanted out west. The district attorney's office says they are still completing that internal review, but they expect the DA will sit down with us next week and answer some of these questions. CBS 58 Investigates sifted through hours of body camera video. We know as a result of this case, officers were disciplined and retrained. Now we're able to see exactly what happened. We're not naming or showing the suspect because she's not charged.
You feel like a big man?
No, I really don't.
Well, how the do you use this thing?
Do you want my help, or are you just going to keep yelling at me?
This body camera video obtained by CBS 58 Investigates shows the 51-year-old suspect in a fatal OWI crash shortly after her arrest January 30th.
You turned around and just...
Want to make a phone call or not?
Yes.
Before being booked, the suspect was taken to the hospital for a blood test. Officers also breathalyzed her.
Good, steady breath.
She initially denied drinking, but after blowing a .24, 3 times the legal limit, she came clean.
We had one shot of vodka on the side of one of the Bloody Marys.
Why did you drive?
Because I was stupid and we wanted cigarettes.
It seems like a straightforward case, but the suspect isn't facing charges. because prosecutors say they can't use any of this evidence. The problem started back at the scene at 92nd and Lapham. The suspect was driving this black Jeep and slammed into this tan Camry, killing the driver, 78-year-old Kathleen Deichel. The officer who interviewed the suspect at the scene repeatedly said she didn't seem drunk.
You have nothing to indicate
She's walking fine, she's talking fine.
The officer even tells a sergeant he doesn't have probable cause to get a blood test.
All I smell on her is perfume, and it's the only thing she took. I said, when's the last time you even drank? She said 3 days ago. She said she really doesn't drink that much.
Deputy District Attorney Kent Lovern says it's statements like this that destroy the case.
They talked among themselves about this situation, that she was not intoxicated. And after that, they couldn't order her to do things. They had to get her consent to do things.
Police did ask the woman to do a voluntary blood test.
Yay, nay?
She said no because she's worried about her dogs.
So officers decide to take the suspect home so she can let her dogs out and then ask again.
I'm just concerned with, well, if something comes back, she said she already said no, but she'll do it if we do this. But she came up to me afterwards and she said, I'm willing to do whatever. I just really need to get my dogs out.
Video in the home is blurred by police for the suspect's privacy.
Imagine there's a line directly in front of you going this way.
Again, the suspect refuses to consent to any tests, so the officer orders her to do field sobriety tests.
You're going to follow the tip of the pen with your eyes and your eyes only.
They did not have the reasonable suspicion to order her to engage in field sobriety tests. They had to ask her for her permission to do that, and she didn't give them her permission to do that.
That means the field tests, arrest, breathalyzer, and blood test are inadmissible in court.
Ma'am, you're under arrest for an OWI rape.
Okay.
Just relax.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Too late now. We've been trying to work with you this whole time.
Back on scene, other officers question why field sobriety tests weren't done right away, just based on the severity of the crash.
That's why it's like, hey, do the fields, because I'm not saying officers don't, we all miss.
West Allis Police Deputy Chief Robert Fletcher tells CBS 58 Investigates an internal investigation was conducted and officers were disciplined and retrained. In a statement, he says the department made policy changes, and now more experienced officers will handle drivers during investigations of serious and fatal crashes. An attorney for the victim's family says he is fighting for justice in the civil justice system. Now, we did file an open records request for the internal investigation to find out who was disciplined and how. We're still waiting for those records. Thousands of people are getting this phone call. It's an automated message supposedly from the IRS. It gives you a number to call back saying you owe money and could be arrested. Well, we decided to call back.
Alex Marshall with a badge number of 55028.
This man, claiming to be an IRS agent, told me I owe $4,000 in unpaid taxes and threatened to have me arrested if I didn't pay up.
Simply, you need to go to your bank. Once you reach at your bank, simply you need to get this money in the cash.
After playing along for about 15 minutes, I told the scammer who I really am. I'm an investigative reporter. We're working on a story about the scam that you're running.
Not your concern. Mind your own business.
The man, who admitted his name isn't really Alex Marshall, didn't hang up. Instead, he told me more about what he does. He says he works in another country with about 30 others.
I'm not scamming a people who is living on a street. I'm scamming a people who can able to pay me $1,000. So we are not like you. We are a scammer, but we are a human. We are not like you. Because in your country, you people don't have a humility.
He also bragged about how successful this scam is.
In December 2017, I got 153,000. In January, I got 182,000. In February, I got 120,000.
We played our conversation with the scammer for Christopher Miller, who actually works for the IRS.
Wow, these people are very brazen.
And Miller says these con artists make a lot of money. Since the phone scam started in October of 2013, people across the country have been conned out of $62 million. In Wisconsin, people lost about $700,000.
Unfortunately, these scammers will prey on those people's intention to do the right thing and work on fear and intimidation.
Here are some tips to make sure you don't get scammed. If the IRS is actually trying to reach you, they will mail you a notice first. The IRS will never call out of the blue and threaten arrest, and will never ask you to pay over the phone or with a prepaid card or gift card.
And if you have any question as to whether or not the IRS is truly trying to get a hold of you, hang up and call us at a number you know and can independently trust to be the IRS.
Miller says because most scammers are outside the U.S., it can be hard to catch them. The scammer we talked to made it clear he doesn't think police will ever catch up with him.
Okay, I'm sitting over here in my country. I'm challenging your country, your government. If you have a dare, try and find me.
Police in India arrested several people last year for running this scam, but because it's so profitable, the IRS says when one group is shut down, another pops up. If you get one of these calls, you should report it to the IRS. We've got a link on our website, cbs58.com.